Okay. So this is a tour that we're doing. And what's great about this tour is a couple of things. One is the date. So the date is Friday, February 14th is Valentine's Day. And then the Monday is President's Day. So those of you that are still working, you only really need to take 4 days off um, for the trip because you have a very long weekend that weekend already. And it's 8 days, 7 nights, and we're staying in five-star hotels. And I'll let Yanni explain some of the hotels and stuff. But so one of the changes that happened since we went there during the Obama era. And one of the changes that happened is that you're not allowed to stay in Cuban hotels. So we had stayed at that, I forget what it's called, the Nacional something hotel, which is cool. But now, if you guys are not familiar with Cuba, there's a lot of large hotel chains that have hotels there from other countries. Like if you guys have been to Mexico, there's a Malia Hotel, which is one of the hotels that we're staying at, and I forget the name. What's the other hotel, Yanni, that we're staying at?
Renaissance.
Yeah, so there's Spanish, French, and English chains of hotels and brand new hotels. And then the other thing I'm going to bring up right away too is the most of these hotels have their own generators and stuff because there was a recent blackout. So they all have their own generators, all these hotels. So it includes the seven breakfasts, five lunch, four dinners, and four guided tours of UNESCO World Heritage sites. And then the tour guide, I'm hoping we get the same tour guide. I put in a request for Yanni, but we'll see. But all her tour guides are great, but we really loved our tour guide that we got last time. He was like fantastic. Um, so the really great thing is we're going to during the art biennial. I'm going to show you this video real quick. We're talking about it. So this, can you explain the art biennial while this video is going? I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit though. Can you explain what that is, Yanni?
Maybe just pause it for a moment,
Oh, sure.
Darlene. I want to introduce myself
Okay,
just
go
for a
ahead.
moment. Hi, everybody.
Oops.
Can everybody hear me? Because my audio was kind of like before. Can you
Okay,
hear
go
me?
ahead. Yeah, I can hear you.
You're echoing.
Yeah, there's so much echo, we can't understand you.
Hmm.
You're in the bear room.
Do you have two mics on? No?
Hmm.
Well, are we the only one with that issue? If so, you should go ahead.
I do hear you very well. So can I get a raise of hands if you can hear me or not?
I can hear you.
I can hear you clearly,
Mhm.
Just
Mm.
us. That's okay.
and I'm on a phone.
Okay, go ahead, Yanni. Just
All
talk.
right. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Yana Marquez. I was born and raised in Cuba, graduated from Havana University right at the time after the collapse, collapse of the Soviet Union when Cuba was transitioning from having the sugar industry as the number one industry in the country. The whole economy collapsed after the Soviet Union, and then they decided to shift to the tourism industry. So I went straight from graduating at Havana University into the new school of tourism, and worked myself as a translator, event organizer, and tour guide for many groups from all over Canada and the US, mostly from the US, touring all of Cuba. I did that for about 10 years and then had the opportunity to move to Canada and continue kind of doing the same type of work, but now introducing people to Cuba and helping them visit the island. So I've been doing this from Canada for almost over 15 years now. It's lovely to see Americans interested in visiting Cuba in spite of all the politics. So thank you for being here and thank you for your interest in visiting Cuba. One of the greatest advantage of the program is that because you are from the U.S., you cannot go to Cuba as tourists because of the U.S. laws. But at the same time, that makes the trip even more special because you're actually going to be meeting and exchanging with Cubans every day, every single day. I always say that that's something that most Europeans and Canadians who visit Cuba all the time freely miss out because they stayed at the beach resorts. Not that the beach areas in Cuba are not great, but I think the culture, the architecture, the history, and most of all the people is what makes the trip more special. So hopefully you will have that experience, those of you who join us. And I'm just here to share with you about everything I know from Cuba and to answer any questions that you may have. Darlene was telling you about the Art Biennial. This is Cuba's most important international art show. Artists, visual artists from all over the world usually attend, and the very best, well-established, and also upcoming artists from Cuba will be participating. All the main art galleries in the country, especially Havana, Matanzas, will be hosting the event, and many public spaces become art galleries on a temporary basis with performances and art installations being displayed everywhere. So it's a good opportunity. It's an event that usually is supposed to happen every 2 years, but over the years, it has been delayed or canceled many times. Sometimes we've had to wait for 4 years for our biennial to come. This one is going to end by the end of, it started this month and it will end towards the end of February. So you will be right in time just to, besides everything else that Cuba and Havana has to offer, you will also catch a little bit of this event. So it's great timing. Yeah.
So I'm going to share the video with you of the, maybe not. Let's see. I think I lost my thing. But okay, I'm going to share it now. So what's I was because when last time we went to Cuba, we went during the Havana Jazz Festival, and which was really cool. And then I saw this, and so it looks very fantastical. And this is from a few years ago, but this is art, okay? This is actual art. This is not CGI and stuff. This might be, but like it's just like really interesting art. And a lot of it's public, but there is a lot in galleries and stuff too. Of course, in Cuba, you have all the old cars. These are actual art pieces, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's like a really cool thing to see. And then I'm going to go back to the, let me get rid of that.
Where?
I'm going to go back to the page. I can find it. I really should have closed everything else that I have open on my computer. I realized that before I did this. And then the problem is my computer is, I'm having a problem with the internet right now. It's like molasses, unfortunately. If you guys go to CasaQ.com, you can follow along there too.
Could you put the link to that video on the chat?
Oh yeah, I'll send you guys a link to the video. It's actually on the website. I'm gonna log back into the website.
Oh,
So if you guys go to CasaQ.com, I put the links
mhm.
to that's
Okay.
actually from the, so let me share my screen again. Sorry, I'm all crazy.
Yanni, or maybe Darlene, maybe, I don't know if this is the right time to ask the question, but with the new administration coming into our country, will that, do you
Bunch of
think,
questions.
it's February, you might not have policies
Right.
in place yet, but I was curious.
We will need to wait and see how quick they take action on Cuba. There hasn't been much action during the Biden administration, sadly. So yeah, so the new administration will come in and by the end of January. It happened before. We've been there before, right? So during the last Trump administration, I have to say there was a lot of media attention against Cuba, but when it came down to black and white regulations, they didn't do as much as what they talk about. Like we completely continue taking groups of U.S. Travelers to Cuba during the whole Trump administration. The only thing that changed was that he canceled flights to some of the main cities in Cuba other than Havana. So we used to run trips that were landed in other areas in Cuba, and then Trump canceled all those flights, and he only kept the ones in Havana. If you were to do that again, that doesn't affect you at all. The other thing he did is that he canceled the group people-to-people license, but kept the support for the Cuban people license. So we only switch in black and white in the paperwork for travelers. Instead of traveling under a group people-to-people license, everyone was then traveling under the support for the Cuban people license. So in real life, other than the bad press that made many Americans think that they were no longer able to visit Cuba, in real life, nothing changed. So we're expecting hopefully the same thing to happen again. One thing that he did at that time is that he gave a grace period of about 3 months for those people who were traveling under the group people-to-people license who had already booked services in Cuba. Those were honored and those people were allowed to travel under that same license. So we imagine that even in the worst case scenario where he would shut down completely travel to Cuba, which is highly unlikely because it doesn't go in line with the policy of supporting the Cuban people, even and especially those who oppose the Cuban government. So I wouldn't see that move coming. No other Republican president has done it in the past. We took travelers to Cuba from the US legally, even under the George Bush administration. Because during the Obama era, it was very easy to do that. We were doing this before Obama. So honestly, we don't see a dramatic change coming. And even if those changes were to come, I think there are legal venues that he would need to respect. And in the worst case scenario, he would still give a grace period for those travelers who have paid trips to Cuba. And I mean, he's coming into the White House in January the 20th. Your trip is just in mid-February. You will fall into that grace period. It was about 3 months last time. I would expect it the same, but even if he shortens it to 2 months, you will still be covered. Honestly, we don't expect something more dramatic than what we had in the same administration. So honestly.
So when I asked Yanni this before, you also mentioned before, Yanni, that the Trump, because I asked all these questions, that the Trump, it hasn't changed since the Trump administration was in there. Biden didn't really change anything. So
He took
it's,
back the people-to-people license, and he kept the one that Trump also had, the support for the Cuban people. So honestly, right now we have groups that travel under either license. So it's pretty much the same. During the Biden administration, it has been pretty much the same as before. It's been very, very similar last 8 years. Yeah.
so we're going along with Farm Worker Caravan, which is why I added in some of these really cool locations. So this particular tour is really curated by us. Yanni and I really put this together, and we went by a lot of the places we really loved last time we went to Cuba and added in a couple new things. And of course, the art show is going on at that time, which is fantastic. So the other thing that's changed is that you can't stay at Cuban-owned hotels, government-owned hotels. Let me clarify, which is fine because it's actually other hotels are better than the government-owned ones. And then you can't bring rum and cigars back anymore. So that is a thing that you're not allowed to.
Never mind.
Yeah, so you can't bring rum and cigars back. So let me finish going through the itinerary. So the Havana Copas is like a performance group, and they're like amazing. We get to go see them, and we go to Ernest Hemingway. If any of you guys have read Hemingway, he of course spent a lot of time in Cuba, and he had a home there, and we go visit his home. And then we go and visit. This is one of the things. So this is a circular economy farm, and all these links are there on this thing. And so some of these farms, because Cuba is an island and they don't have a lot of fresh water, and they're trying to grow stuff, and they don't have a lot of commerce with other nations, because, for instance, when we went last time, and I'll say this, Yanni, you don't have to say it. They say sometimes America's a bully, because what happens is, like, say Mexico does business, they're going to tell Mexico, you either do business with us or you do business with Cuba. Okay. And so, of course, so they don't get all the food that they would normally get, right? But with the paladores, which are the private enterprises, and that kind of opened up a little bit more after Fidel died too. There was already some, but there's way more private restaurants and things, and those were like the great places to go eat. And they get a lot of food on the black market, and they're very innovative. But back to the farms. These farm to table places are super innovative. This one in particular, like all these chefs from all over the country go and visit this particular farm because they're super innovative in how they grow things and how they're sustainable and all this stuff. And so it's a place that chefs from all over the world go to visit this farm. So we're going to go there and visit it and try some things and stuff, produce and stuff that's there. And then this one, we're going to go to their restaurant too. So there's two farms we're visiting. And then also, because we're going with the Farm Worker Caravan, we're going to be bringing donations and stuff to give to the farm workers over there. So last time we got to go, our guide, it was fantastic. We brought a bunch of donations, and we were able to stop at a school. And we got to meet a bunch of kids and stuff at the school and give donations. But this time we're going to focus on the farm workers, and we're going to bring, so it's up to you. You don't have to bring donations, but we brought a suitcase full of donations, which works out well, because then when you buy stuff, you have room in your suitcase to put it in.
What kind of donations?
We'll ask them, we ask them precisely what they want. Last time, like, they wanted, well, musicians too, they always like the guitar strings are like a big commodity in Cuba, to buy guitar strings. And then we brought a lot of last time we brought a lot of coloring pencils and coloring books and things for kids, but the farm workers will be different. And then so we'll ask them what they want, and then we'll give the list beforehand. So we're going to Havana, Cienfuegos, Trinidad, and Sugar Mill. Do you want to touch on those a little bit, Yanni?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, in Havana, every place you visit, well, first of all, the moment you arrive at the airport in Havana, you are going to have a tour guide, a local tour guide, English speaker, who's going to meet you, and the tour guide is going to stay with you for the whole tour. So he will meet you every day at the hotel. And the tour guide will be the translator at all the visits that you're going to be doing, and he's going to be guiding you. So we go on a historic walking tour around Old Havana, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We visit all the main four squares that are located there. When we go to Cienfuegos, Cienfuegos was also declared a UNESCO Heritage Site. We will go into a walking tour around the historic center. Both cities are very, actually the three that you're going to visit, Havana, Cienfuegos, and Trinidad, they're very different in their own particular ways. Havana is, of course, the capital of the country, lots of influence of the Spanish, Moorish architecture. You will see the greatest plaza is the Cathedral Square, which is really unbelievable. And when you go to Cienfuegos, it's completely different. Cienfuegos was founded by French settlers, so the whole influence is completely different from Havana. And Trinidad is again another example of a Spanish architecture, but Trinidad is the oldest preserved town out of the three. So if Havana has cobblestones, Trinidad has stone paved streets, literally completely uneven. It's like stopped in time, in part because of some economical crisis that it went through back in the 19th century, and it's been preserved beautifully. So the three of them will offer you different views of the architecture in Cuba, and very unique at the same time. Of course, we will also just going on the next one, the privately owned Vantage cars. These are cars all from the US, all the main brands from the 40s and the 50s, 60s still running in Havana. So we will take you on a tour around the whole city on those cars. And yeah, it's busy schedule every day. One of the reasons for that to be that way is because we need to comply with the US restrictions on travel to Cuba. Again, you're not supposed to go to Cuba as tourists. You are going on a cultural people-to-people exchange to support the Cuban people. So that's one of the reasons why it's busy every day. But still, busy, learning, exchanging, and having fun and having a great time. So yeah, more than anything, making friendships along the way, hopefully.
So this is one of the places that I'm looking forward to going to, because I got to get my salsa in, my salsa dancing in. Too bad my computer is my. So this is just like a street party, like with locals, tourists too, that we're gonna go to and hang out there one day. So part of the thing with oops, when we go to Cuba, you have to go with the itinerary. You have to stick with the itinerary, of course. But you do have some free time as well. So, I mean, we had some free time. Oh, and then actually that lady, I think it was that lady, Yanni, you probably know, because I don't know if she died or not. But the older lady that was in that video, I could have sworn we went to go see her at the main theater one day for the jazz thing. Tito or whatever her name is. She was cool. There's like a lot of good music. We went to some places at night. So but you do have to submit, we have to submit a itinerary to the government, which we will do, and then get the visas and stuff. So this is one location where we do have to have visas. So, but that'll be taken care of.
No, you don't need to submit. So sorry, darling. No, you don't need to submit anything to the government. You don't need to submit the itinerary. You bring it with you just in case on the way back home, as you land at the airport in Miami, if the immigration authorities ask any questions about the legalities of the trip to Cuba, like if they want to know what license category did you travel under and what was your schedule of activities while in Cuba. That will be the only time when you need to show your license document and your itinerary to the U.S. official. And the absolute vast majority of our travelers, they report back to us that they were not asked any questions about the legalities of the trip, even during the past Trump administration, and they did not have to show any of these documents. So we would expect the same to continue moving forward. Yeah.
So we also go to is it in here, the cigar place that we go to, or is it? Are we not going to the cigar place?
Okay, right here.
I
It's
saw
an
it.
easy addition if you want, if it is not there.
Cuban artists. So the Havana Compassing, that's a cool place to go to. Frinca Fame. Okay. Oh, we go see the fire of the cannon too. Oops, I clicked over. And so you can also
Yes,
go
day
down.
3.
Is it on there? I could have sworn I saw it.
Yeah, day 3 of the itinerary, you visit a cigar factory in Havana.
Yeah, so we go to a cigar factory too. When you go in there, you're not allowed to take photos, but you can go in there and see everything. You can buy cigars while you're there if you're into cigars and smoke them. You just can't bring them home with you. So this is so on this page, it's on CasaQ, there is a link that shows you the full itinerary. And then I just have links that I don't know why I can't go back now. But do you have any questions right now? I know
I have a ton when you're ready.
Go ahead, you could start asking.
Okay, I'm going to start with what hit me right away. The water sports in Trinidad, that wouldn't include scuba diving, would it? Because the
I'm
backside
sorry.
of the island's supposed to be amazing because it's not touched.
That's Trinidad.
If in Trinidad, you mean?
I don't know. I'm looking at a map. Okay, so Trinidad's on the inside. Anyway, when you said water sports, what are the water sport choices?
Yeah. Okay. Scuba diving would be an option. Now again, you will have probably somewhat of opportunity to do this, but again, remember you're not going to have that much of free time. You're not
That was
supposed
my
to.
next question. How tight is this itinerary?
Pardon me?
I said, how tight is this itinerary? Are we going from what time do we start every morning? What time do we end?
Every day is kind of different, but I'm gonna say the average departure time from the hotel is usually around 9 o'clock. We usually want to start the day, would say around 9 o'clock, 9:15. We have activities in the morning. We lunch usually every day all together, included in the tour, and we have 1 or 2 afternoon activities. So I would say, as an average, we're going to be coming back to the hotel probably at around, I'm going to say 4:30. Again, every day is different. It depends on when we visit one place.
No siesta.
You have how quick or how slow the group moves. So it depends on all of that. But I'm going to say roughly probably 4:30 around that time. You will have some downtime at the hotel after that. So again, yes, pack your bathing suit because both hotels have very nice swimming pools, so that perfectly you will have some time for that. And usually we always would have dinner. Sometimes dinners are on your own. If you want to make arrangements and have dinner all together as a group, our tour guide can definitely help you with those arrangements. And we would usually have a night activity. Having said that, the itinerary must be busy to comply with the US restrictions on travel to Cuba. At the same time, we are all adults and grown-ups. If at some point you feel like you want to stay behind a little bit at the hotel to get some time on your own and do your own exchanges with the Cuban and do your own people-to-people experiences. We don't have a problem with that. We just ask you to let the tour guide know so that we know you're safe, that you're just doing some exploring on your own.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. So we didn't have a lot of free time during the day, with the exception of when we went shopping or went to the galleries or to the shopping thing. Then we're kind of on our own a little bit. But other than that, during the day, we don't have a lot of free time. We mostly did stuff in the evening. And so on the
The
days,
itinerary,
this is not an
I'm sorry,
itinerary. This was a friend of mine, Doug Rodriguez, and he's one of those master chef guys. And he
okay.
goes to Cuba all the time, so he put together this list for me. I don't know if these restaurants exist anymore, but
Okay,
this is a list. Hmm?
okay, go ahead.
So this is
Finish.
a list of paladores, which he recommended, and he's like a master chef. And so he gave us this list of paladores, and we would like go to we went to a couple of these on our own. So it was just like we were like, oh, we're gonna go to this place tonight, and then whoever on the tour wanted to go, they could go. And if you didn't want to go, you want to go do your own thing, you could do your own thing. So in the evening, we have a little bit of free time. And I might contact him and ask him to update this list, or you might be able to guide us too with this, because I'm sure it's changed. As we know, restaurants go in and out all the time.
Prior to departure, we sent you a list of night activities, like music places that you can go to on your own. We sent you a list of paladares restaurants with their contact information, phone number, and address, so that you can make your choices if you want to go individually. And we also send you, more importantly, what we call the Cuba orientation letter. This is a really long document, about 12 pages long, but it covers everything from what to pack, what not to bring to Cuba, money, currency exchange, donations. When you were asking, we include in that letter a list of some suggested gifts if you want to bring some of those, weather, clothes to pack, safety, what you can buy and bring back to the US, electricity, internet access. So it covers pretty much all the questions that you would have about the trip. We send you in writing that document so that you can study and get ready for the trip.
So let me answer some of the questions. So the round trip airfare, actually there's a link on the website too. I'll go back over there in a second. But I put a link there just to Google Flights so you can get an idea. I did it from the Bay Area. And I know some people are doing it from other areas. So the trip is open to anybody, Rosa. Anybody can go on it, not just comadres. And then you might want to talk about the money too, because the money has changed since we went there too. Because I understand you only have one money system now, and you need to bring cash.
Yes.
You cannot
Yes.
use credit cards or anything.
Cuba continues to be a cash economy. Even though last time you traveled, they had Cuban pesos, Cuban convertible pesos, and then also, of course, the US dollar. So they had like three currencies circulating. Officially, the official currency right now is only the Cuban pesos. But to be perfectly honest, all the private businesses and the vast majority of all the places that you're going to go to, they will be very happy to take your US dollars or euros. So still plan on bringing cash, US dollars. If you want to pack some euros as well, we always recommend to bring both currencies. Yeah, really no need to exchange into the Cuban peso unless you want to just keep some bills as a memento from the trip, but you're really not going to be using that currency to pay for services. Everything you will be able to pay for it in US dollars or euros.
But you have to be real clear that your cards do not work in Cuba. They do not work in Cuba. Okay. So you have to bring all the cash that you're possibly going to spend and more. And some people are kind of like, oh my God, I'm going to be walking around in cash. But Cuba's actually very safe. I mean, we felt really safe. Some of us girls walking around at night or whatever, we felt really safe in Cuba. And if you look at the statistics, Cuba is actually very safe, much safer than our cities, unfortunately. So we did exchange some. I saw your question, Rosa. We did exchange some money at the hotel. But again, like Yanni's saying, if you have the dollars, and we did exchange some money, I believe, somewhere. Was it at the airport before we came, or?
Yeah, there are exchange offices, not outside of Cuba, but once you land at the airport in Havana, there will be an exchange office. Again, when you traveled, there was the Cuban convertible peso, which had the same value of the US dollar. So that was a reason to exchange money if you wanted to. But right now, this is not the case. Like it is over 100 Cuban pesos for $1. So if you wanted to exchange only 50 US dollars, it's going to be a huge amount of bills that you're going to get. And again, you're really not going to have that many opportunities to use that money. And even if you have leftovers at the end of the trip, you need to make sure to change it back into US dollars in an exchange office in the city center, because the one at the airport will not give you your US dollars back. They don't give that service there. It has to be done in the city. So honestly, the majority of our travelers, the feedback that they give us is that it's not worth it. Paying directly in US dollars or euros remains the main option. Your hotel room will have a safe deposit box, and there will be an extra fee that the hotel will charge you if you want to use it to rent it out from the hotel. We totally recommend doing that so that you put all your valuables, the passport. We always recommend get a copy of your passport, and that's what you're going to carry with you every day. The real passport goes in the safe with extra money, and only take every day with you a small amount of money that you feel comfortable with carrying in your pocket or your wallet. Yeah.
So, but the good thing is mostly everything's taken care of for you on the trip. Like you're not going to be paying transportation, you're not going to be paying for most of the meals, all that. So you're really not going to have to worry about a lot of money. It's just when you go shopping or if you go to another restaurant or something at night when we're not going to a dinner, then that's what you do. But you don't spend a lot of money. The shopping, there was actually more shopping than I expected because I didn't expect really any shopping, to be honest with you. I had zero expectations for shopping. So it is, but there was a lot more than I expected for artisans, because there is like a market that we go to. There's a bunch of stalls with artisans and different things. So they do have that. And then we're also going to go to the Factoria, and that's more high-priced artist stuff. But so there is art there, and the art is really beautiful. Like some of the actual artwork art is really nice in Cuba. As far as like you have to get your mind out of that it's like Mexico, because it's not Mexico. You're going to Cuba. So Mexico has like you have to hold me back and chain me down when I go to Mexico for shopping. And it's not like that in Cuba. You know what I mean? Cuba is its own, you're really there for the culture and the music and the atmosphere and the people. It's just a very different experience. So you have to like you've just never, Cuba's different than any other place that you're going to go to. And so what is a reasonable amount of money to bring? Yanni, that's one of the questions.
And again, all of that, you will receive it in writing in our Cuban orientation letter. All of that is included there. One main question that you will need to ask yourself is precisely that, how much shopping you want to do, and probably set aside the budget for shopping that you feel comfortable to. The first thing that comes to mind, if it comes to art in Cuba, you're gonna find a wide range of prices, from much more affordable going up to the high end of the well-established artists that sell very expensively. So in general, we recommend a minimum of 80 to 100 per person per day. And of course, you need, knowing yourself, think of an amount that makes you feel comfortable, because you need to really understand that once in Cuba, you have no access to your credit cards, you have no access to your debit cards. So after you plan this 80 to 100 per person per day, we also advise you to think of a contingency amount that you're gonna bring. And this is money that you hopefully you're not going to spend. You just want to have it there for your peace of mind, just because you don't have access to your credit cards or debit cards. So you want to have a certain amount just to give you peace of mind that if you need it, you have it. Most likely you will not spend it. Like Darlene was saying, most of the services in the tour are paid in advance or included. So you are really not looking at spending that much in Cuba at all. But the feeling that you have no access to credit cards, no access to debit cards, we say bring that amount of money if, I don't know, for some reason you need it, so that you have it.
Yeah, so I came back with extra money when I came, but it's better to have the money, like Yanni's saying, than to not have it, because you're not going to get it anywhere. You have to remember that.
I have a series of kind of logistical questions.
Hmm.
What are the roles of Yanni and Darlene on this trip? Are you the tour guides?
Yanni's a tour guide.
Are you the guide or the organizer?
She's the organizer. There's a guide that comes on the,
Better
yeah,
tell.
there's another guide that's actually in Cuba.
Okay.
Yanni
Okay.
lives in Canada, just so you guys know.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, so
What is your role, Darlene?
yeah, and my role is just, I'm just getting people to go to Cuba. I'm like, let's go to Cuba. You know what I mean? Type of thing. That's my
Is
role.
this a fundraiser for some organization?
It's not a fundraiser because we're really not making any money on it, but it is an educational tour too. Like we said, we're going to these places and then we're bringing stuff to the farm workers. So
Sure.
it's
Okay.
more of an educational one. A lot of I have some agricultural ag students and things like that do sustainability that are coming on because
You mentioned all that. Thank you.
yeah.
How many people are you taking on the tour? Maximum and a minimum?
What's the maximum, Yanni?
Honestly, we don't have a maximum. You went on the jazz festival tour. For that one, we had 150 people. So we
But that was
group. We're not getting that many, I'm sure. But honestly, for us, we
we're
operate.
not all together, by the way. They split you up.
No, Cuba is our only destination.
Yeah.
So we focus on working with Cuba only. So for us, there's no limit. I would say the largest tour bus that we would have
I'm asking about this tour, not
Yeah.
what your organization does. I'm asking about the
46.
tour that you're selling now. How many people, maximum and minimum?
That would be up to Darlene. For us, if we want to keep the group together in only one tour bus, that's going to be a maximum of 40.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's high. That's high. Actually, I prefer it to be a little bit smaller than
So what
that.
is your minimum and maximum, Darlene? It's up to you.
I haven't thought about it yet. I mean,
Oh.
probably my minimum is going to be 6 people, and then my maximum, I don't think I want to go past 25, but I personally like 15 to 20 people, to be honest with you, because then we get to know each other and it's a little bit easier we're not herding cats, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't
Uh,
like it to be too big.
Okay, is it possible to stay longer than what the trip is scheduled to be and or go early? It sounds like probably not. Okay, okay.
No,
Unfortunately,
you
to
have to
comply
be
with
on our
the
itinerary. Yeah.
I mean, Cuba
And
will allow you to stay longer and to arrive early, but the US regulations will not. Like
okay,
the
that's fine.
letter,
I got it. I got it. Thank you. Um, are the flights are not included, getting to Havana is not included in the price, is that correct?
that is correct.
Are you organizing like from Miami to Havana, or do we just all get up there on our own?
Mm.
I would say we always recommend there are different airlines like Delta, United, American Airlines. They all fly from Miami to Havana. If you were to ask me my preference, I always recommend American Airlines only because they have 6 to 8 daily flights from Miami to
Yeah.
Havana. The other airlines might have only 1 or 2 at most. So that gives you the peace of mind that if for some reason
Sure.
you miss your flight, there are multiple backup options throughout the day. I would say maybe once those of you, like we get with our solid group of people who are going to be traveling, I would recommend to look at the options and try to find one departure time from Havana that works for everybody so that you all arrive together on the same flight. And
Who
Okay,
organizes
so
that?
I'll tell you what we normally
Who,
do.
organi who organizes the common flight?
I do,
Okay,
Darlene.
great.
So what I'm showing you right now, and I'll go back. This is a link that I just put on the bottom of the tour page, and it goes to Google Flights. So you
Okay,
guys
I'm
go
not
to
interested. I'm not interested in this. Thank you. I can look at Google Flights myself. I have other
okay.
questions. When
What
we're
but
moving between,
what I'm saying is, and just in case other people are interested, is
sure.
that we'll usually choose a flight. Okay, we'll say, okay, we're going to take this American flight, or we'll take this one. So we'll choose a flight that's, like not super long, like these 20-hour flights, and that's a reasonable and all that. And we'll say this is the flight that we're all taking, and people can choose to go on that flight or not, regardless
Okay.
of whether you choose to go on that flight or not. They're still going to pick you up at the airport. Okay. So you're not going to be like abandoned or anything
Talking Miami or Havana?
in Havana. Yeah.
Havana.
Yeah.
I
In
thought there
Havana.
was a
But
flight on there, Miami to Havana. It was 300 and something dollars plus an extra 50 that was on your link here that said we can organize through you. Did I read that wrong?
yeah, I think the ones that Darlene was showing are from California,
they're
including
from California.
the
Yeah.
No. This was you get yourself to Miami
Hmm.
and then from yours end, and it was on this site that you're scrolling through, which I guess I could pull mine up, but I'm trying to watch here. There
It's
was a flight that was 300 and something dollars.
hmm
That's the average price of the Miami Havana round trip flight. I would say between 300
Miami to Havana. Yes.
Miami Havana round trip. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we could have you guys organize it. We could either do it ourselves or have you do it.
Absolutely. And if you happen to have air miles or air points with your preferred airline, you're welcome to
Okay.
use them to cover that and
Okay.
you will directly use it in points or miles as
But
well.
we get ourselves to Miami and we can have you organize the flight from Miami to Havana.
hmm
We can
Correct?
definitely do that for you. Yeah.
Okay, super. is it possible that maybe we all kind of say we're all going to leave about this time and we go together?
Yeah, that's what we're
Yeah, that's what we're
Hoping to do.
talking about. That's what we
Super.
usually say
Okay.
that, and that way people that want to travel together, because we have a lot of single people that go on the trips too, they're not necessarily couples. And so they want to travel, I know, together usually. And so that's what we usually do.
Okay.
Let me see if I
That's
have that. I did put
there
this.
is a link there. It was 300 and something plus an extra 50 or something.
Yeah, the average price of the American Airlines flights from Miami to Havana round trip is around 300, 360.
Yeah. Okay. Making sure.
These
And
were,
I actually,
go ahead.
good. I actually found cheap flights on Spirit and whatever else from San Diego to Miami for $150
Wow.
round trip. I'm sure they won't be there the day we try to book it, but you know,
If Spirit doesn't go bankrupt.
They did.
yeah, if it doesn't.
Yeah,
But there
if
was
it doesn't.
Alaska. There was
These are some of the
Alaska. There was
pictures
US.
from our
There's a whole
last.
slew of them. They were
These are
Are
quite
some
you
of
cheap.
still
the,
taking questions?
yes, go ahead.
How are we traveling between the three cities
The
that are
same
on the itinerary?
tour guide and tour bus driver that will meet you at the airport on day one at the airport in Havana, that same bus driver and that same tour guide will stay with you for the whole tour. So from day one to the last day when they bring you back to the airport in Havana,
Okay, great.
for you to come back home.
And is the bus air conditioned?
It is air conditioned, yes, like
Yeah.
tour bus, same standards of the kind of tour buses that you find here in North America.
Oh, that's a cute picture.
Yeah, this
Uh,
was our group last time. So
Okay,
these are all pictures I'm showing from the last time we went.
okay. I have additional questions while you're showing the picture, if you may.
Go ahead.
Um, um, who's going to do the hand holding of the people going on the trip? And I'm asking that because I have led 5 similar trips like this to Myanmar, which is halfway around the world.
Mhm.
We had a local guide, we had a local bus driver, and I spent a lot of time answering the questions from people who wanted to go on the trip. Who's going to answer those questions? Darlene, I think you indicated that you really don't have the time to do it.
What do you mean answer the questions about, you mean on site?
No, before the trip.
Yeah.
Before the trip.
Oh, before the trip. Yanni will answer all the questions.
Happy to do that. Yeah, I can, Darlene, you have my email address, so you can.
Yeah,
you
I can share her email address.
And as we move forward, if we want to schedule another of this meeting, just to have another session of questions and answers.
Yeah, we'll have another session once people actually sign up. We'll have another meeting to discuss, like, getting there and all that. Let me answer some of these questions real quick. Do American hotels that have ATMs? First of all, there's no American hotels, and so thus there will be no ATMs. And there are no ATMs. Your cards do not work in Cuba. I
You're
not
gonna
stress
see
that more.
You're gonna see the Cuban version of an ATM, but your cards will not work on them. Like
American cards do not
with a
work.
Canadian credit card, they will be able to get cash out of the machine in Cuba. Europeans will also have that choice, but unfortunately, financial institutions in the US are not connected with Cuba, so your cards, you won't be able to get the money out. So yeah.
Yeah, so Yanni submits an itinerary. So Lionel's asking, will you help with the visas and help with the flights?
Yeah, we do send you information. American Airlines has a specific website connected with a visa provider, specifically just dedicated for American Airlines passengers. So we send you the link, and then you can just purchase the visa directly from
So
the.
when you go online, for you guys, because we're American, she's Canadian, so it's different. And we have to remember, and just politically, we have to remember that every other country in the world can go to Cuba, okay? The US can't. So other people are traveling there all the time. It's just the US can't, okay? Because we have our American thing. So when you go and book a flight on American Airlines to Cuba, they automatically set in their system that you're flying from the US and you're a US citizen, how you have to write that. And then they have you fill out some forms with the airline. The airline has you do that when you book the flight. Yeah. So that there's just a couple different things for us because we're American. And if you have a double passport or you have a double, citizenship or something, use your other citizenship. I
No,
mean,
I'm sorry, you're still US citizens. You need to
yeah.
comply with the US
Some
laws.
people have dual citizenships. So I know like my friend, she just goes on her Mexican um passport because she has two passports. But Americans are different. We're just different.
I think Amy has a question.
Amy?
She's just making noise, I guess.
Yeah.
Can turn me off.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? You have to unmute yourself.
By when do you need a deposit and who do we, how, is that all on is that all on the information already?
Yeah, what's the deposit, Yanni?
Yeah, I'll send you a quick email about that. Your trip departs in February, so we always wanna do everything a minimum of 3 months prior to departure. I think we're
Now,
way below that. So I would say as soon as you can get organized, as soon as after this meeting, those of you who confirm to their link that you are definitely decided to go and visit, I think we should just start moving forward with deposits and also making flight arrangements because usually, yeah, the closer to departure, the more expensive airfare usually gets. Yeah.
And it's better to book it sooner in this instance just because of the new administration coming in. Because if you're already booked, they're gonna let you go. You know what I mean? Because they even if he change, to be honest with you, I don't think he's gonna change anything. If he does, it'll be like a year or 2 years because he's got other things, as we know, that he's working on.
supporting Cubans.
Yeah.
Much higher on his
So he has
agenda.
other priorities besides Cuba. Cuba's not one of his priorities. So I don't think anything's going to change. But just in case, it is safer to book it before his administration starts, though. Sheridan has a good question about a Thai bank account, and he has a Thai bank account and card. Can he use it there? And I would say yes, right?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't get that. Can you say that again?
Sheridan has a Thai bank account and card. So
You mentioned euros. Is it and Canadians? Do they take Southeast Asian bank accounts?
Yeah, as long as your credit card is issued by an institution from another country other than the US, it most likely will work in Cuba. Now, you also need to understand that Cuba itself is a cash economy. Like even it's not like you're gonna be paying with a credit card around.
No. I just wondered if I could use. It's not really not worth the hassle. I was just curious.
you probably can.
Most likely, if it is from other place other than the US, maybe yes.
The backup. Okay.
As a backup, I would bring it. Yeah.
I have just one real quick question. Hi, this is Erin. Other than the cigars and the rum, is there, particularly since we're going during an art festival, is there any other restrictions on what we can bring back to the United States?
No.
Any restrictions on where or who we can buy things from?
Nope. And that's also included in the Cuba orientation letter. And when we send it to you, it also has a direct link to the US Treasury Department that has the specific restrictions on Cuba on what you can bring back. But specifically, it's just rum and cigars. There's no actual limit on anything else. And that one was just changed by the Trump administration. And unfortunately, Biden didn't change it back to the Obama era. But really, those two are the only ones. Yeah.
Okay. And oops, sorry, Darlene I was curious, do you know when you might have you said that the donations for the farm workers, that sort of thing? I'm a farmer and I work with farm workers, so I'm curious if you know when you will know what kinds of things the folks will be looking for.
Yanni is going to reach out to the farms that we're going to, because it'll be the workers at the farms we're going to,
Right.
and get a list for us. We may
Okay.
not get it until like a month before the trip, though.
Okay.
Probably not till January, just so you know.
Okay. Thank you.
But we do put together a list for you. We'll have different, like we said, we'll have different lists. And our guide was fantastic because he also told us places for us to go. We're like, we want to go salsa dancing, or we want to go to this kind of food or whatever. And he would give us suggestions all the time. Her guides are like rock stars. I love them. They're very, very helpful. And actually, to be honest with you, everybody in Cuba is so nice and friendly. It's everybody was real friendly.
Well, my husband builds guitars now that he's retired, and we have guitar strings and things like that up the gazoo. So if you
Guitar
can,
string.
Johnny, if you get me any kind of information about different, like if there's a specific, there's all sorts of specifics around
we gave it to
guitars
people on the
and
street. Any kind of guitar strings, they'll take them. Gave it to people, musicians on the street. They practically have tears in their eyes. Guitar strings are like a hot commodity.
okay, so we don't have to bring any cash. We just bring a shit ton of guitar strings and we're good to go. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you mean for tips and things? Seriously. There were some other things. We had a list from last time. I'll pull up the list from last time, but I don't want to give it to you guys because I want to give you the final list.
Okay.
It has the farm worker thing. But we had a list of donations to bring, and guitar strings were one of them. I do recall that.
Okay.
And I
Thanks.
think guitar picks too, right? Is it
Yeah.
guitar?
But we'll just bring it, we'll just, like I said, we'll just bring a ton of guitar strings and picks and use them for tips.
Yeah, so travel insurance. That's a good question, Lionel. I always get travel insurance when I travel now, and I can't remember what I did. I can't remember what the thing for Cuba was.
Usually what we do is that once we have people confirm on the tour, we send you an orientation email that is gonna cover all the basics for the trip, like entry requirements, flight arrangements, and then travel insurance is one of the points in that email. And because not all the insurance companies in the US will include or cover Cuba, just because of the logistics between Cuba and the US. So we'll list some of those that work with Cuba, so that you make your own decisions about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so if you have any more questions, now's the time to speak because we're going to wrap this up. We're over, but we will send you links. I'm going to send you a link so that will go directly to Yanni. So you're going to be paying Yanni directly, okay? And then I will stay in contact with you guys for when we do another meeting closer to the thing, and then we'll also send you a list of suggested places to go on your off time, like private restaurants or other places. And then we'll also send you the list of donations too, closer to the thing. So is there any other last minute questions?
I have a question. So
okay.
So Darlene, so what's the next step for those who are interested in going on the trip? Do you have?
And they can give a deposit. And did you answer that question what the deposit is?
No, I mean in terms of signing up for the trip. Because I think last time you collected all of the information, and when I mean information, I mean, the basics for organizing the trip, name as in passport, date of birth, passport number, passport expiry date, whether you want a whole room or a single room. So that basic information, do you want to collect it yourself like the last time? Or should we instruct them to sign up for the trip through our website?
I'll go ahead and have them register like we did last time. So what happens is we have you guys register and it comes out as a spreadsheet, and I share that spreadsheet with Yanni, and then she contacts you for the deposit and all that. But that way we know who's going who. And then I know sometimes people want to share rooms with each other and some people want their own rooms. So we kind of ask that, and then she kind of finagles everything. So everybody's happy. So we will do that. And there
Okay.
will be a summary of this
You
tonight's
want
session.
for those who are interested to sign up for the trip or to register for the trip on your website. Does everybody have access to that link already? Do you know what to do if you want to join it?
Yeah, I'll send an email out that explains it. And then
Okay.
I'm going to CC Yanni. So if you guys have questions directly that you want to ask her, and that's about it.
That's free shipping. And start making that.
Is
So
there anybody else? I know that I can't, not
I know
everybody.
that you recorded this because I know some friends wanted to come, but they couldn't make it tonight. So will you share the link to the recording so I could share that so that they get the information?
I will. They'll probably be frustrated with the recording, but I will share it, especially in the beginning. Yes. Okay. So is any other questions before we cut out? No? Okay. We will send you a follow-up link. Thank you guys all for tuning in, and if you have the opportunity to go to Cuba, I highly suggest it. It's very interesting to go to Cuba. It's very different culture and economy. So it's really an experience more than just a vacation. You know what I mean? Just to learn about things. And that's about it. So, okay. Well, I'm going to cut out.
Thank you.
If anybody has
Thank
any more
you.
questions.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.